Hey, Anna,
Hey, Mike.
I got a surprise for you.
What's that?
Well, I have set up a Patreon page for A Dog's Life.
What's that then?
Well, Patreon is like a crowdfunding thing, so people who love the show can support us, and it's called A Dog's Life Club.
A club. I like the idea of being a club, like a private members club.
Well, yeah, so it's not quite that fancy, but it's, step one to getting there. So there's two tiers. For only £4 a month, you can be an official patron on tier one. And if you love A Dog's Life, and I'm guessing you do, or you wouldn't be listening to this now, and you want to help to support us, that's what you can do for just £1 a week. That's £1 per episode. That's less than a coffee, less than a newspaper. Or you can join tier two, which is top dog.
Top dog.
And with that, for £10 a month, you will get access to all sorts of bonus content. You know that talk you did at the Natural Health Show during the summer? And people have been asking to hear that. Well, if you join Patreon, you will be able to hear that full talk. We'll do some hot takes on some breaking news, all that kind of stuff you do at Jeremy Vine. But the best bit is your training course.
I know, yes. So, my top tips on various things, isn't it, Mike? Like walking to heel or training your dog to go into their bed on command, or a number of all sorts of other things, including even training your dog to walk backwards.
Exactly. So once a month, people will get a new lesson to help train their dogs.
So, Mike, hang on though. What if people can't afford to do the Patreon or might not feel it's relevant for them, but they still want to listen to A Dog's Life? Is it still free?
You can still listen to it for free every Sunday on Apple or Spotify or even YouTube now, just like you've been doing now. You don't have to pay. You can follow us and subscribe for free and keep it as it is if that's what you like. But if you'd like to help support us and keep us going, join Patreon. Just go to patreon.com/adogslife, or you can find the links in the show notes.
The link is always in the show notes. Hey, Mr. Binks. You know how you're an English toy terrier and you've always lived here in the UK. Well, there are lots of dogs across the world that need humans' help. That's why we're about to jump on Zoom and head over all the way to Thailand to talk to Mike Dower, who bravely set up a charity 5 years ago called Jai Dogs. And we're going to find out what's going on now. I'm Anna Webb. Welcome to A Dog's Life. Mike Dower, welcome to A Dog's Life.
Thank you, Anna. It's very nice of you to have me on your show. Thank you.
Oh, don't be silly. I've been looking forward actually to chatting with you. We just must make listeners aware that you are in sunny Thailand at the moment and making me extremely jealous of the fact you're having a heat wave. I couldn't think of anything more amazing. You're now over in Thailand because a few years ago you set up a rescue over there called Jai Dog. Is that right?
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
So why did this happen, and why are you so passionate about helping the street dogs in Thailand?
I've been to Thailand many times as a tourist. I've been to the islands down in the south, to Koh Phangan and Koh Samui and Koh Samet, and I'd seen firsthand, what life is like for street dogs in Thailand. Some of them have a really tough time. They're in bad condition. They're malnourished. They've got very bad skin conditions, or worse. They've got injuries that nobody's helping them with. So having seen that, on multiple trips, I think I just developed the idea that I wanted to get stuck in and do something that was kind of would make a real difference to helping the lives of street dogs. In the UK, we're very lucky. We don't have street dogs in the UK. We don't see the kind of issues that Thailand street dogs face. So it was that was it really. It was seeing it firsthand and wanting to get stuck in and do something about it.
Oh gosh, I can relate. I've never been to Thailand, but I've been to India 3 times for quite long periods. And, there was this one mother who'd just given birth, or the puppies they were still suckling, probably about 4 weeks old. She had 3 little puppies. Oh, by the time we left that village, I can't remember where we were now. We'd gone there to see some amazing, amazing Hindu temple. And on the east Orissa side coast of India, which isn't as touristy. There was only 1 puppy left. And I was like to my friend Louise, I've got to take this puppy home. And she's going, Anna, have you gone gone mad. And I go, no,
Mm.
no, people are doing it. And the passport was not super like it is now. You know, not everyone was traveling abroad with their dog at this time.
Yeah.
But anyway, you know, so I hear what you're saying, but nevertheless, Mike, it's quite a big step, isn't it, to leave London to go and live in Thailand? I mean,
It's a huge,
it's a huge, I
yeah,
couldn't even cope
it's a
with
huge
leaving
step.
London to move to Buckinghamshire. I came back. That was too far. So Thailand.
Yeah, I mean, it is very far. I mean, you know, I will say I am by nature quite an adventurous person. So I do enjoy traveling. I've lived abroad, you know, several years of my life. I lived in the US and I've traveled a lot. So, you know, it wasn't a huge leap of faith. And it was actually, the timing was really great because I was working in IT for 12 years and, you know, my job was coming to an end. I was offered redundancy in that job and everything kind of just fit together at the right time. And, you know, initially my plan was to come and spend a year in Thailand and do lots of research and set up a charity and, you know, do as much as I can that year and then come home. That was what I originally thought I would do. And that was 5 years ago now. You know, of course, once I got here and once I got stuck in, you know, there was no way that I could leave after a year, after having rescued so many dogs and become so closely bonded with those dogs that we'd rescued. You know, there was no way I was going to leave.
So what do you think makes Jai Dog different?
I think one of the things that makes us different, I mean, obviously, you know, any dog rescue anywhere in the world is amazing. But I think what makes us a bit different is we have a really, really big piece of land. We call it the farm, affectionately. And it's, you know, a very big, wide open space. And our dogs are allowed to have a lot of freedom. So they're allowed to run and play and express their natural behaviors. We don't keep them kennelled all day. They are kennelled at night time just for safety and to prevent incidents. But I think that's something that we really think sets us apart from some of the other rescues is that they do have all of this wide open space. So, you know, I would say most of our rescue dogs are pretty happy.
Gosh, yes. Well, you know, I've looked on your website and they do look really, really happy, actually. But do you keep them then on the farm? I mean, what kind of happens? I'm sure an average day in your day is kind of totally mad. I'd love to be a fly on the wall, really. I'd love to come over actually and help.
Or
Be
I was
more
going
than
to
a
say,
fly.
even better,
Yes.
come and visit us. Yeah, that's a much better than being a fly on the wall.
Yeah.
We do keep some of them. I mean, what we tend to try and do is when we pick up sick and injured dogs, we have to assess obviously what's wrong with them and how serious their injuries are. If they've just had a scrape and they've got some, you know, small wound that needs to be dealt with, or they've got a small skin infection, we can normally put them back on the street because, you know, in Thailand there's a culture of people taking care of dogs. So you'll always have people in the community that will feed the dogs and look out for them. You know, there's not a really big problem with abuse and cruelty out here. So that's always the first option, is to put the dogs back if we've got them better. If their injuries are a bit more serious and they can't be put back on the street, then obviously we'll rehabilitate them first and get them better. But then we'll offer them a place to live with us at the sanctuary here. So at the moment, we've got 91 dogs living at our sanctuary, which isn't, you know, it's not a huge amount, it's manageable. But we don't want to become, you know, a really overcrowded rescue. We would rather, you know, if we can put the dogs back on the street if it's safe, or we're trying to look for new homes for them as well. You know, try to get them adopted in the UK if it's possible, or even in Thailand.
Well, you know, you've obviously really hit the radar with animal welfare, you know, institutions, agencies around the world for this great work. I mean, I love the idea of 91 dogs. And once you hit 101, there'll have to be a play on 101 Dalmatians,
Yeah,
maybe.
of course, yeah.
You know, it's got to be done.
We'll get the social media content ready.
Yes, absolutely. But, you know, Battersea Dogs and Cats Home has actually donated to you this year because of your great work.
Yes, I mean, more than that, actually. So we're now in partnership with Battersea Dogs and Cats Home, which that started in January this year. We've been speaking to them for quite a long time, and they've been very aware of our work, and they've been really supportive. But this year we started a really, really ambitious 5-year project with Battersea. So Battersea are funding our CNVR work. So that's capture, neuter, vaccinate, and release. So that's our kind of prevention side of our charity. That's our kind of top-down approach to preventing, you know, huge amounts of puppies being born into a life of hardship on the streets. So just within our first year, with that funding from Battersea, we've sterilised and vaccinated 2,350 dogs in our province, and we've got a really ambitious target to try to get to 70,000 dogs treated over the next 5 years, which of course will result in less dogs on the streets, less fighting between male and female dogs, less road accidents, less injuries. There's so many benefits to the dogs and the communities that they live in as well.
Yeah, and that must be part of your work. I mean, it's really good to hear that there isn't sort of some outward abuse amongst the community towards the dogs. But, when I was in India, I did see that, well, I was in a tuk-tuk that hit a dog, and I can't repeat what I said or did. Accidents happen, don't they? And road accidents, as you say, particularly. Ooh.
It's really common. It's probably 60% of our rescue intake is from car accidents, and it ranges from everything to a displaced hip to a fractured leg, right through to permanently disabled dogs. We've got several dogs living on the farm with us that are permanently disabled, and they need to have wheelchairs for the rest of their life. So obviously they stay with us because we can take care of them here. But that's a really big problem in Thailand, is car accidents.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess helping to educate the community a bit is something that you do a lot of.
We do community outreach, and we do educate as we go along. We focus quite a lot on educating around health problems and around spotting sickness and injuries in dogs, spotting when dogs are getting unwell, and also preventing. There's a bit of an epidemic here with pyometra infections.
Right.
So Thai people, they'll inject human birth control hormones into female dogs once they know that they've mated, because they try to prevent them from having puppies. And unfortunately, it leads to health problems, and they become infected with pyometra infections, and it can kill them. It can kill them, if they're left untreated. So during our regular CMBR clinics here, our sterilization clinics, we see 15% of female dogs have these pyometra infections. So we're trying to educate the community as to why you shouldn't use these human grade birth controls in dogs, and why it's dangerous. And also about, just taking better care of dogs in their communities.
Yeah, which is also great. It's helping to integrate, I think, and to bring joy to people, because, dogs do ultimately bring joy, don't they, Mike? I mean, this is the thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I really believe, Thailand, people really do love dogs. They're not mean to them. They're not cruel to them. They get frustrated sometimes when they cause issues, when they're, going through the trash, and when they're fighting, and when there's lots of dog-to-dog aggression. Of course, those things frustrate them and they annoy them. But generally, I would say that people like having the dogs around. So our project is certainly not trying to remove the dogs from communities at all in any way, because that's not what people want. We're just trying to make it at a more manageable level, and so that people can have an improved relationship with their community dogs.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, you must have quite a team of people there to look after 91 dogs.
Yes.
I've got 2 dogs, so that's enough. You know what I mean? But you must have vets out there, because when you are doing sterilization and everything, you've got vets there, right?
Yeah, we've got 2 full-time vets now. We've got Dr. Stop and Dr. Ton. They're our full-time vets. So they're doing sterilization and vaccinations 3 days a week. And then outside of that, they're also working on our rescue cases. We receive between 10 and 15 rescue cases a month. So dogs that are coming in with sickness and injuries. So there's plenty of work for the vets to do here. And then next year, we're recruiting another 2 vets, because we're going to start growing a mobile CMBR team to go out further into the community and focus on some of those dogs that are a little bit further away. But in total, we have a team of 12. And that includes our vets, our vet nurses, our shelter wardens. Those are taking care of the dogs day to day. So, feeding and cleaning and walking, and, just giving them lots of TLC and love. And then also our dog catching team as well.
Gosh. So an average day must be pretty exciting for you. I mean, do you wake up, Mike, every morning thinking, wonder what's going to happen today?
I mean, sometimes, the thing is, it's pretty structured. Dogs, as you well know, being a behaviorist, dogs like routine.
Yes.
Dogs really appreciate having a good routine. So we always, we start at 6:30 in the morning. That's when they all get out of their kennels, and they're allowed to go run and play whilst we're cleaning and, mucking out the kennels, etc. And then feeding time is always about 8 a.m. for their morning feed. And then they get fed again in the afternoon at 5:30. So in between that, we're running our CMVR clinic. And we're also treating our sick and injured dogs that have come in from rescue. Plus, we're giving special care to some of our disabled dogs that need a bit more one-to-one special care. Plus, we're doing, any rehabilitation that needs to be done for some of those dogs.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
So yeah, it's always a busy day.
It's always a busy day, but I know we spoke last week and it was all quite, kind of stress because one of the dogs or the girls had just given birth.
Yeah, I mean, it was a very unusual situation. So during our clinic, we'd found a female dog that was in distress and she looked like she was very unwell. And we realized that she was having difficulty giving birth. She was very heavily pregnant. So we had to perform an emergency cesarean to remove the 6 puppies inside. And at first we thought they weren't going to survive, but actually, miraculously, all 6 of them survived, which was,
that's great news. That's great news.
It was brilliant, and we were all kind of all gathered around the vet's table, shaking the puppies to try and revive them after they've been born and rubbing them to get them breathing. So it was all very exciting. And it can go the other way sometimes. Sometimes they don't survive, which is very sad. But this time, all 6 of them are well. And also very luckily, the owner of the female dog who brought the dog to the clinic is actually going to keep those puppies, and she's going to raise them, which is brilliant because obviously they'll live in the community with their other dogs. We'll obviously keep an eye on them. We'll give them the vaccinations when the time is right, and we'll make sure that they're healthy.
Yes. Oh, that's such good news, though. How sweet.
Yeah, we were very happy.
Yeah. No, it's great. Because I suppose, you must have rabies out there.
Yes, we do. I mean, it doesn't happen very often, to be honest. We've only had a couple of reported cases in the area that we are. It's few and far between. The government is actually pretty good at their rabies vaccination program. So, yeah, we've only seen a couple of cases, and it's always a little bit stressful when it happens, obviously, and the Department of Livestock get very stressed about it. But it's not a huge problem like it is in some other countries.
Well, that's good. That's a massive relief, isn't it, really? Because, it is the only thing that definitely will kill you, man or beast.
Absolutely.
So,
yeah, and we have to be very careful with our staff as well. All our staff have to have their rabies shots. And then if anyone gets bitten by a dog that's not one of our dogs, they have to go straight to the hospital and have post-exposure vaccination shots. Even if it's the slightest chance that the dog might have rabies, we just don't take any chances with that.
No, you can't. It's something we're blessed, in the UK not to have, and long may that continue. Although there's rumours, with all of the dogs being imported from overseas, puppy farm pups, that it may come in, because so many are smuggled without being caught at customs, illegally brought in. So
yeah, well, the customs restrictions are pretty tight, aren't they? But yeah, you're right. If it's happening illegally, then there's always that risk, and it would be a horrible disaster if it did happen.
Well, it would. Yeah, it would. It's a serious thing. But so, if you're looking for adopters, Mike, you mentioned earlier that you're hoping to be able to let people in the UK be honoured to have one of your dogs. Is it a complicated process talking, because customs and the flight and all of these things, all the paperwork involved?
I mean, it's a little bit tricky. We've got a system in place now, and we make it as easy as possible for the adopters. So one of our rescue dogs, Mary, has just been adopted, and she's travelling to the UK on January 15th. I mean, there is a lot of paperwork. There's a lot of checking vaccine records and microchip certificates and, inspections at Department of Livestock, but we take care of all that anyway. And then you have to find a flight. But we are pretty fussy with our adopters, because obviously if we send a dog to the UK, that dog has no chance of coming back to us. So if it didn't work out for any reason, it would be very upsetting for us to have to find another home for that dog. So we do vet people, very well. We're very strict about our adoption policy, but we've rehomed about 12 dogs this year. And we're always looking for new homes. So if there are adopters out there that would, like to give a rescued tired dog a home, we'd be very interested to speak to them.
Oh, yes. Well, all the links are going to be in the show notes, Mike, for people to contact and actually donate, because it must be, despite Battersea helping you, it must be an ongoing struggle. I mean, 91 dogs, that must cost a huge amount to feed. All right, you might not have heating bills over there. So jealous, but you will have food bills, enrichment toys, all of these things that you need, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, our food bill each month is very high, and things like, there's a lot of problem here with fleas and ticks, tick-borne diseases. So we have to medicate our dogs regularly against fleas and ticks, and that's very expensive as well. The costs do rack up, of course. For the day-to-day care of the dogs. We do a lot of fundraising online, our social media and our Facebook and Instagram. We do fundraising there. We also have some donations from private donors. But yeah, we're always trying to push the envelope a little bit with the fundraising. And of course, if anyone is able to make a donation, we'd be very grateful.
Well, yes, I'm sure I really hope you will be donating, everyone listening. Now,
please.
So out of 91 dogs, I mean, do you have a favorite, Mike? Do you have a dog out there that is kind of your dog? Or are they all your dogs? I know they're all your dogs, but has one dog really captured your heart?
I mean, I have to be careful because they're probably listening to me. So, but I have several. So there's Gogo. Gogo and Didi are brothers, and they are the first dogs that I rescued when I came to Thailand. I rescued them as tiny little puppies on the side of the road, and they were, 4 of their litter had been killed already. So I brought them in. So I've raised them from very tiny pups. So those 2 are favorites. Another one called Mook, who lives up in my house with me. And she was a pyometra case from these birth control injections, and she was very close to dying. She nearly didn't survive. So she's become kind of one of my favorites. And then another dog called Buddy. Buddy was shot by a farmer he was killing the farmer's chickens, and the farmer shot him, and we had to rescue him from that incident. So yeah, I mean, I'd probably say those 4 are probably my favorites.
Oh my gosh, yes. I mean, I can imagine, it must be so hard in a way, particularly if, an operation might not go according to plan and the outcome wasn't according to plan. It must get to you, right?
Yeah, I mean, we do become very attached to our dogs here, and all of the team, they all love all the dogs. And of course, when we adopt dogs, even, it's quite sad for us to say goodbye. But of course, we understand they're going on to have a home and a family life, which we love. But yes, of course, with this many dogs, we do lose some sometimes. We actually lost a dog called Hook earlier this year. He was rescued as a little puppy, and he'd been run over by a motorbike, and he'd lost his back foot. So he was a kind of a tripod dog, and it's always very sad when dogs don't survive and they pass away. But on the flip side of that, we have so many dogs to take care of, and there's always another rescue coming in. So we don't have too much time to linger on feeling very sad about that. But we actually we have a burial ground for our dogs here, and we always put a tree. We bury a little tree when we bury a dog, and we've got a little area where all these trees are growing now from our dogs that have passed away.
Oh, that's so lovely. That is really so thoughtful, and they stay with us, dogs. I do really believe that, in kind of energetic kind of communication. But is there a sort of type of dog out there, Mike? How when I've gone to Greece, in India as well, the dogs were quite what I would call kind of like pariah dogs, like quite old school dog, really built to survive, with pointy ears and a long nose, long legs, skinny-ish build.
I mean, it's very similar. It's very similar here to what you're describing. So sometimes people will say that they're a Basenji mixed or Thai Ridgeback mixed. So yes, it's exactly that. And there are, the dogs all do look quite similar, apart from their colours and their markings. They do all have quite a distinct look. But we do also get quite a lot of pedigree breeds coming in as well. We've had several husky breeds come in that have been abandoned, or have had something, so they've become unwell, and people can't afford to pay the vet bill, so we bring them in. But those ones, we find it really easy to rehome. So we've sent them across to adopters in Canada and the US. So yeah, the pedigree dogs are much easier for us to rehome.
You see, I'd love to live with a real street dog, and kind of get to know them and really tap into their natural instincts that they'll be so heightened to, that's something that one day I'd like to do. But come
and spend some time with us.
I'm planning my holiday. Mike, you've got no idea. I'm multitasking. My brain is half thinking, when is
You're
it
already halfway here.
I mean, when is it a good time of year to visit?
So, I mean, so the hot season is sort of April to August, September. So that's not a great time because it's really hot here, you know, and it's a little bit unbearable. And also, from the dog's point of view, they're a little bit less active during the really hot season, as you can imagine. You know, apart from the mornings and the evenings, they're kind of just laid out during the day because they're trying to escape the heat.
Yeah.
But actually, November, December, January, February are really good times to come because it actually cools off a little bit, and it's the kind of that's why it's the peak tourist season in these 4 months.
Of course, yeah, similar, I guess, to India. I mean, it's obviously going to be a bit of a similar climate, I would imagine.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, okay, Christmas next year then, Mike.
Why don't you come with Steve?
Sounds a good idea. I was just going to say, why don't you just reserve me a kennel? I'll be absolutely fine. And a bit of bedding, and that'll do me.
No, I think you find it fascinating. People that do come that have a behavior background, they always find it very interesting to see the way the dogs interact with each other because they become packs. You know, we've got distinct packs living on the farm, and they display pack behavior all the time. So it is very interesting. No,
I'd love it. But yes, Steve Pitron, we must give a nod to Steve Pitron because that's really how we met. And Steve Pitron of Island Records brought the legendary Susie over, didn't he?
Susie, yeah.
Yeah, who was almost the inspiration in a way, partly for you, but certainly for Steve to be very loyal to Thai dogs. I think he's going to rescue another one from Thailand.
We've been speaking about it. I think you're right.
Oh, and he's such a good egg and such a supporter of everything over the years, you know. So
he's great, and what they did for Susie was incredible. You know, Steve and I have been friends for many years, but that really touched me. That really, you know, when Steve and his husband rescued Susie and brought her back to the UK, even though she was blind, you know, even though she was old, you know, most people would have given her a second look, you know. And what is she had 5 or 6 great years living with them. You know, and that's just, I think it's really inspirational. And I think Steve's a really big advocate for people not overlooking blind dogs, not overlooking disabled dogs, you know, and to give them a chance.
Well, that's it. And I love the way that you are helping traffic injuries and helping educate people that tripod dogs can have a long, happy life, you know, and giving them a second chance rather than just going, oh, you know, euthanize.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, you're probably aware that euthanasia is a bit of a taboo subject in Thailand. It's not generally practiced.
I didn't know that. No. Oh,
yeah. So it's because of the Buddhist culture. They believe in not taking away any other being's life for any reason. So it's when I first came here, you know, we were kind of told, you know, euthanasia is off the table. You can't euthanize dogs at all. I mean, that's not strictly true. And of course, in certain situations, we have to euthanize when the dog is very, very sick or, you know, is in pain or there's absolutely no chance of the dog recovering. But we do have to be careful about that. And we have to be careful about how we talk about it in the community. But it's a part of the cultural conditions under which we have to work.
I absolutely love that because actually what's happening in the UK, because we're generally not Buddhists here, is euthanasia is being really promoted as being not a go-to, but promoting it as being a very good death and that you shouldn't consider euthanasia as a failure. There's a lot of kind of promotion amongst the veterinary community about selling the benefits of euthanasia, which I agree in certain situations where there is no hope, sure. But I always believe in hope. And I think that's part of Buddhism, isn't it, really, that there is hope.
Absolutely, yeah, and you know, generally, I do generally agree with some of the points that they make, and I think it's not a bad condition under which to have to work. You know, it makes us go the extra mile, makes us try that a little bit harder for each dog.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Oh gosh, I am really excited about Christmas 2023, Mike. So
me too.
This could well be a plan. Look, thank you again for your time today. Rest assured, all the links are going to be in the show notes, and keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you. It's been a real pleasure, and yeah, I look forward to seeing you here next year. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mike. That's our show, Mr. Binks. What did you think? Gosh, yes, I know. What a wonderful place Jai Dog sounds. I'd love you to come with me when I go over, but you can't because you'll have to have a rabies injection. And you're right, it is time for Woof of the Week. So let's not forget that there are dogs around the globe that need our help. Well, I hope you all enjoyed it. If you did, please go on, rate and review the show wherever you tune into your podcasts. Thanks again to Mike Dower for sparing the time today to join us, and all the links about how to donate and about Jai Dog, they're in the show notes. Thanks, of course, to Mike Hansen, my producer, for all the music and production as ever. Find out more about him at Pod People UK. And for me, I'm at Anna Webb Dogs. What's that, Mr. Binks? Oh, yes, you're right. Please check out our Patreon link, as it's a chance for you just to give us a little tip if you like what you heard. But also, why don't you just subscribe for free today? Because that way you'll never miss another show. Bye for now.